could you? How could you, Jack?
I'm sorry, I couldn't help it.
Cut! That was horrible! Who wrote the script? Welcome to the movie show!
Active FM.
Yo!
What's up?
Welcome to another awesome movie show.
Yes, on Active FM.
With me, Ryan.
And me, Sash.
And you are tuned in.
Yes, you're about to find out what we think about a movie that we watched and we are going to review. Yes.
For you,
yes. And this film is titled Motherless Brooklyn, and it came out last year, so 2019. I don't know how I found this film, honestly. I don't.
Really, eh?
I don't know. I just said to Ryan, I have a list of films I want to watch, and this one was there. Don't know why I wanted to watch it. I don't know.
It was.
Wow.
It was good. It was good. The only. It was good because it kept you. It sucked you in. Yeah.
I think the problem with this film is it's very. You have to. Sure. It gets like in depth into.
Yes.
How do you even explain this?
That's why I don't know if you're talking about the same thing that I'm talking about, but I was lost with the in depth with the reasons.
You can get lost in this film.
I just knew who the bad guy was, and I knew who the good guy was, and I was still trying to figure out people that were connected because there's the main dude. What was his name? Bruce Willis's character.
Oh, Frank.
And I'm trying to figure out if he's on the good side or the bad side.
Uh-huh.
So that's running in my whole mind. But at the same time, I don't know if you found there was humor within this film.
Yes, there was humor.
Yeah, specifically because of our main character's condition, which actually it lightened it, and I think it made the character likable as well.
But I did, when I got to the end of the film, I did get it. It wasn't like I was
what?
I was
just like, oh, okay, so that guy wants lots of money, he wants to build these things, and he's willing to just push anyone out the way.
Yes. And then there is like some twists and turns and controversy that comes up, and you're like, what? So, yes. So if you watch it, you just have to concentrate a lot.
I'm sure if you know a lot of, what kind of doctrine do you even have to have, if you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's sort of political in a way.
It is political,
but then,
isn't it?
Yeah, it's... So, okay, so just to give you like a very brief summary of the film. So there is a guy named Lionel Essrog, and he's the main character. And he's a lonely private detective who doesn't let Tourette's syndrome stand in the way of his job. So he has a syndrome that... It's actually one form of OCD, but that's obsessive compulsive disorder. But what he does, so his brain, he explains it that there's a part of his brain that kind of just like detached and became like its own mind, if you can put it like that. So in other words, he'll be standing and then he'll suddenly blurt something out. Sometimes he swears, sometimes he doesn't. And then also he twitches a lot, and he has to, like, if there's a puzzle that needs to be solved, he can't, like, it will freak him out for the rest of his life until that thing is solved. So he obviously has this syndrome, but he actually doesn't let it get in the way of him doing his job, and he is a private detective. And then, gifted with a few clues and an obsessive mind, he sets out to solve the murder of Frank Minna, who is played by... Bruce Willis, who is his mentor and only friend. And then the whole thing's round, so it's a very noir film, which is obviously jazz clubs, like that almost, it wasn't black and white.
What do they call it? The hats?
The hats. The private detective is
very
actually
big.
very...
And the gangs, wasn't it? The gangs and the private eyes.
Yes. And there's the slums of Brooklyn and Harlem. And so basically he uncovers a web of secrets while contending with thugs, corruption, and the most dangerous man in the city.
Right.
Yes, who obviously is very high up within, not government, but like, each state has like a body that runs it. So you have the mayor, and then under the mayor, you'll have your different like people in charge of different different. So for us, we have like the Minister of Education and the Minister of Parks and the Minister of Health and etc. etc. It's like all of those different people kind of built around that. So it's not like political in the sense of elections and, you know, Democrats against Republicans and yes, all of that.
The most entertaining presenters.
Active FM.
Radio has never been better, man.
The movie almost portrays him as beyond the law type of thing, doesn't it? Almost like, because you see they receive a new mayor, right? They get a new mayor that they voted in. And this guy is almost like, he's like concrete.
Yeah, he bosses the mayor around.
Forever. He walks in there, he's like, just give it to me. Just give me the thing. I want to just sign it now. I want this and that. And you can see how the mayor's almost like...
he's unhappy, but he listens
and he
to
has
him.
to like, yes sir, no sir, 3 bag. And then like the one scene he even walks out and then he still tries to sort of throw his weight. And it's like, and shut that door, but now the door's already closed. Shut that door and keep it closed, you know, type of thing. And it's like, okay.
So that specific character is actually played by Alec Baldwin. So he's the antagonist in the film.
Hey, can I tell you what I find interesting about him is that we see him in sitcoms lately. Not lately, but for a while now he's been in sitcoms. And I almost got the impression, like, because I think I looked him up once and I found him in previous movies that were done, like good, well-known movies. And forgive me if I've made a complete bad judgment on this, but I almost get the feel that when actors are in sitcoms, it's almost like they don't want to go back to the movie, like the movie career. They almost like they're done. They just sort of just enjoying sitcoms type of thing. And then, boom, he pops up like, oh, look there he is. Oh, awesome.
Yeah. But the cast in this film, it's a very, very strong cast.
Good, yeah.
So you have Edward Norton, who's actually, this guy is brilliant. I enjoyed his acting so much. And then afterwards, I was shocked to find out not only did he play the main character, but he directed and wrote this film.
Yeah.
So I was like, that is something. To direct and play the main character is,
And it's not the first time he's sort of played a character with some sort of disorder. So for me, I was just like, I think it's right up his alley. So.
And then obviously we mentioned Bruce Willis. There's Alec Baldwin. There's, I think it's Willem Dafoe. I think that's how you pronounce his name. But he's also a very, very well-known actor. There's Bobby Cannavale, Leslie Mann. So like it's a strong cast. It's a very strong cast. They all did a very good job. The acting... You can't complain about the acting. But now, interestingly enough, the budget for the film was $26 million. Box office, they only made 18.5 million. So they didn't even make up the budget of the film. And get this, so the principal major stars, so in other words, all of the actors that are like major stars in this film, they all worked for free. So that budget doesn't even include their payment. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like they actually worked for free.
Damn.
So it's from a financial perspective, this film didn't do that well. Marketing is expensive though. To market a film, like it's very, very expensive. But like I didn't hear about this film. I can't even remember why I know about the film. Like I don't know.
Serious.
I don't know what happened. I just stumbled upon it and was like, okay, let's watch it.
What was it? Movies made in 2019 or must-see movies or...
Maybe it was 2019. Maybe I searched films in 2019, but I can't remember.
I do remember this being at the cinemas.
Really?
Yeah, I remember it being at the cinemas. Because I remember seeing it, and then when I heard the name, I was like, sounds familiar.
Okay, I did not know that. But do you think the film was worth the watch? Or do you understand what I'm saying? Like, because it didn't do well in box office.
It was, like I said, I enjoyed it. I didn't feel like it was a waste of time. I enjoyed the ride that it took me on.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't understand a lot of I'm not a very, I don't even know what you want to call it. Some of the stuff I didn't understand the way things work. I didn't even know there was a person a governor or whatever, or whoever, guy that's in charge within the government that's in charge of like landscaping of the city and the way I was just like, well, are you talking about you're telling me it's someone's responsibility to make sure like the landscaping is right. You know, if the hill's too tall, it looks uneven. We need to bring that mountain down. Yeah, so that. But yes, I enjoyed it. I really did. I might just watch it again if I'm totally bored. Not to say that it's bad. I'm just saying, yeah. I enjoyed it. Wow, what was you
I did enjoy it. I personally would like to watch it again, just from a clarity perspective.
Yes.
Because I feel like watching it a second time will be like, oh.
Right.
And yeah, it was good. The only thing that I will say against the film is the swearing.
Yep.
But we did know what we were getting ourselves into because I did look. Luckily, there's no nudity or sex or anything like that, which was very nice. Because that's just like, ugh. Like, seriously?
Yeah.
But the swearing is also because of the fact that the main character has Tourette syndrome. He doesn't swear constantly. It's not like every time he goes off, he doesn't. But the swear, and it wasn't just from his character. It was all round. There was quite a bit of swearing. So that's the only thing I'd say was not good. And then the other thing that so Alec Baldwin's character, he was based on, there was an actual guy who I think his surname was Moses. In this film, his name is Moses Randolph, I think.
it was
yes.
Moses something.
So yes, it was based on the real life city planner Robert Moses. So his character was based on him, and they say that Moses is largely to blame for the Brooklyn Dodgers leaving Brooklyn for Los Angeles. The Dodgers leaving Brooklyn is mentioned once in the movie on the radio and hinted at a later point where Randolph mentions a baseball team playing where he stays. So they did base it on him, but I just also felt like they were kind of hinting at Trump as well. I've kind of felt like they were bringing across a sort of message. Just specifically, there was one speech he made where, he was speaking about like that's what this great nation is made up of. And just like the terminology they used, I was just like, I wonder if they're getting a little bit political here, because they do that in films. I don't know if you realize that.
Yep.
But films can be very political. You don't even know it's political because it's some sci-fi based on in a planet on space and
aliens.
You would never, but no, it's politics.
And the alien's name is something Trump. And you're like,
Not even. It's not. They. It's like less sure. But yeah, I feel like they were hinting at that, and it did bother me a little bit because obviously Alec Baldwin's character is the antagonist of the film, and they portray him as a corrupt, etc., man who's just after power and building and glory and all of that. And I don't think that President Trump is all of those things. So from that perspective, at one point I was just like. Yeah, and then speaking to my dad, who is quite into politics, when I explained the character, he just laughed and was like, yeah. So I think they were getting a little bit political there. But otherwise, it was a pretty good film. I really, really enjoyed Edward Norton's acting. He was on another level. The way he brought across that syndrome, I was like, from the beginning of the film, I was like, this dude is brilliant. And he apparently he met and consulted with many members of the Tourette Association of America to prepare for the role. And the film has actually received approval from the organization as well. So he did do like an in-depth study, which you actually have to do. Like we even saw that with Russell Crowe when he was in A Beautiful Mind. They do have to go into quite an in-depth case study actually of how to pull the character across.
Yeah, watch some footage and see what they, especially the words and the way that he rhymes and the way that it was, and how random it is.
Yeah, it didn't look like he was acting. It looked like. Yeah, it was brilliant. Then this film, so Edward Norton, who also directed, said it took 45 days to shoot the entire movie.
Wow.
45 days, so just over a month to shoot the entire film.
Wow.
Which is pretty fast, because generally it's you look at like 2 to 3 months of filming. And it was a long film.
Yeah.
It was 2 hours 30 minutes, I think, or 2 hours 20 minutes, somewhere there.
Yeah. I think, yeah.
So it was quite a lengthy film. It's not like it was a short film, but it took them 45 days. And originally, so this film is actually, okay, I think Ryan's actually got a comparison between so it's based on a book. but an actual novel. But that the year that they based it in the book is not the same here. Here they actually took it back in time, and the reason for that is because he wanted it to have that whole noir film feel, which I think was a very good move. I think.
Yeah, it made it more interesting.
It did make it
Gave
more
it a
interesting.
bit more spice.
Even like the music, the costume design was very cool. And the whole private detective thing fits in that time. Like that time was a time filled with private detectives,
Right.
investigators, finding out secrets, etc., etc. Yeah. Okay, now get this. So, in the filming of this film, one New York firefighter was killed and 2 others were injured on the set because a fire broke out in the building used for the nightclub. And it actually happened on March 22, 2018. So literally a fireman was killed. They, obviously by mistake. It was an accident. Fire started because there wasn't a fire scene in the film. No, there wasn't. I was like, was there a scene in the film where there was fire? Fire started, and then they obviously called the fire department like you do if a fire breaks out. One firefighter actually died. 2 others were seriously injured. Production was then temporarily suspended the next day and resumed a week later. So it actually did help, which also shows now.
So does that mean they had to rebuild a new club? Or
probably.
They had to relocate it type of thing?
Or fix it up, or... Because if a person died in the fire, it was bad.
Yeah, I don't
It's
think
not like a table that got caught alight and then, oh no, quickly take it out. Okay, guys, we need to get a new table. Like it was
No, there was a whole new setup that had happened. And I know usually when fires happen, they usually have to re-examine the building for its, how stable it is.
Yeah, to check if it's actually safe.
Yeah.
And then several lawsuits were filed in the aftermath of the blaze. But I think that was pure. I mean, imagine that's horrible. Like you're filming and next minute a fire. First of all, the fire in itself is like really like now production costs, etc., etc. That also could have actually taken production costs up.
That's also true.
But then also on top of that, then a fireman dies. Like then it's like
that's bad. I think maybe that's why the whole thing worked out, because it was maybe unnecessary and because of what happened. Yeah, so apparently the people in the area or in the building above or whatever, they filed a lawsuit against the production company because they had the walls or something like that of the club prevented it sort of made it more difficult to fight the fire and stuff like that. And then what happened...
Had they put those walls up?
The production company, because of the set. Edward apparently then filed a lawsuit against the owner of the building. Because there were a lot of things that weren't safe, like the wiring, the ventilation of the room, etc., and stuff like that. So it was sort of like nail you. Okay, cool, thanks. So you guys done all right. Now I'm going to nail him. Type of thing. So sure, that's like quite, I didn't watch the credits. I wonder if there was, in memory of or something.
Probably.
Like
they would have probably dedicated or in loving memory of.
Yeah, shame, because I'm sure, that would have been quite a stumble for the crew and everyone, this like shocking event that happened. Like, my word, it would have shaken up quite a couple of people.
And you probably found it got out of hand because, like if there's an explosive scene or something like that, you'll have the right people on set, you'll take precautions, etc. They do that in films. They have to, because otherwise people would be dying all the time on sets. But in this case, they weren't doing, there wasn't even supposed to be a fire. There was like nothing.
Yeah, well,
so
from what I could gather, it seemed like it happened after hours. So they filmed the night.
I heard it was started in the basement or something like that.
Yeah, well, isn't that where the club was? Isn't that why it was maybe in the basement?
Okay, yeah, that's probably...
I think.
Yeah, it makes sense.
If I go to New York, I want to go to Brooklyn. I want to go check out some of those.
Just be like, this
because
is the place.
It was quite interesting. Some of this, during the scenery, you sort of learn a bit about the buildings and stuff like that. Especially that one part where he goes into the basement, like underneath the stairs of the house, and it looks like a house.
Under a house.
Under the house.
You're like, what?
So that's why I was like, what? Hey, what's going on here? Yeah. But from the sounds of it, the fire happened afterwards. They'd filmed, they'd packed up, and then the next day or during the night, boom.
That sucks.
Fire.
That's horrible. Shame. This film also took nearly 20 years to go into production. So Edward Norton actually...
Wait, what? Serious?
Yeah. He and I was watching an interview with some of the actors, and they were actually saying he was so good as a director because he's imagined it in his mind for so long that he was able to give them like exact like points on what to do, how to get across the characters and all of that. Can I just say, I loved the way the film started. I loved the start was
With the
brilliant.
two guys in the car, right?
Yes.
Just straightforward.
And then even leading on to that, so there's a whole scene that happens with Bruce Willis. And then you have Edward Norton's character listening on a payphone. Just the way they did it was, I was like, this is so cool. Like it really grabbed me immediately. That was really cool.
It made, I don't know if you thought about it, but it made sense to me why Bruce Willis's character, Frank, got Edward's character. Sorry, I don't remember character names. I can remember actors' names. But why he got him to listen on the phone, because obviously he knows that he had a very good memory. And I think he knew, I think I'm going to go down, but I need this guy to uncover this, in case things get horribly wrong.
Yeah.
So afterwards I was like, that makes so much sense. Because he still brought up the memory of something that had happened before. He's like, do you remember what happened? And then he this Edward Norton character, like he says, well, you walked in, and this happened. And he's
word
like,
for word.
You see, this guy's got it, all right?
That's why we leave it up to him.
Yes, exactly.
Shame. And they called him Freak Show in the film.
Yeah, they did. And it's quite weird because you usually expect someone with a disorder like this to be a bit more sort of not all together.
Yeah.
But
no, he was all together.
You learn because, like, especially that scene within the car, you can pick up, okay, something serious is about to go down. This guy's got a disorder. And,
you're like...
And you're counting on him, type of thing. But then, like, you find out the guy's got it all together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's actually a very calm. He's very calm in persona, actually.
Yes.
Obviously, he's got the syndrome, which kind of makes him like glitchy, if I can put it like that, every now and again. But he's actually he's quite calm. The film definitely at times I was like, what? Don't go there. Don't like you. Actually, there's a lot of specific points where you're just like, oh no, someone's gonna come from around the corner. So it does like pull you in.
When he was in the train station.
Yes.
Didn't you feel like, yep.
I was like, oh no. But I must be honest, so what happened was I started watching the film quite late at night. So I watched the first like 30 minutes and I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure I've watched an hour of the film. I was like, only 30 minutes. Then I was like, okay, you can do this. And then I must be honest, from that point on, the film actually, it didn't drag for me. Because I remember looking again and it was already at an hour and it didn't feel like another 30 minutes had passed. So it wasn't, it didn't drag. It didn't feel like it did. I think there was so much action in the beginning. Maybe in my head I was like, so much has happened. It's probably like an hour into the film already. But then it wasn't. It's just that the beginning is, they pull you in like they're like, this is the story, this is what happened, and then you're like, which was
I'm actually interested to know if the original novel started off with them two in the car.
If
Just
it
from
didn't,
interest sake,
they did a good job by making it start like that.
Yes, it was definitely a good place to sort of start.
And even the way they introduced each of the characters to you, that they did that very, very, very well. Yeah. Just two quick facts on Alec Baldwin's character, who was Moses Randolph. He actually did the actual guy in real life. So Moses Randolph is based on a guy named Robert Moses. So he did not just have 3 simultaneous city commissioner jobs. That's what it is. They city commissioner jobs. So I think he was in charge of parks. Eventually he was put in charge of housing, and there was something else. I can't remember what the other one is. But they're saying in real life he didn't just have 3 of these jobs at the same time, but also he had more than a dozen. So he had more than a dozen. Yes. He was put in charge of more than a dozen. And during the Great Depression, he operated largely on the WPA grants. And this, along with massive revenues from toll roads he had built, allowed him to be largely immune from powers that controlled municipal purse strings. Being what appeared to be a sociopath, he did what he wanted without regard for the suffering it caused and was answerable to no one, which is actually exactly what he was portrayed in the film as, which is quite crazy. And then also they mentioned, so in the film he comes across as very, very racist, and they actually said that the actual guy, Robert Moses, was also racist, but also he was an enthusiastic swimmer, which they also brought across.
My goodness.
In the film.
Wow, what do you know?
Right? Because he's depicted, I think, twice in a public swimming pool.
That's right.
Yeah.
Nogal, a public... I was still like, what is with this guy in public swimming pools?
It's probably because they didn't really...
In New York.
They don't have a lot of like garden space in that. Unless you're living like in the Hamptons, I suppose. But if you're living in like New York City, no one's got a pool.
Hey,
you don't have space for a pool.
If you're from New York, give us give us a comment
Right.
about that.
Yeah. But the funny part was it was a public pool and yet they cleared everyone out. No one was allowed in while he was swimming.
Yeah.
Which, yeah. But also in real life, apparently that Robert Moses was responsible for building a massive number of swimming pools in New York. And according to biographer Robert Caro, he kept them a few degrees colder because he had the belief that black people disliked swimming in cold water. So that just actually shows how much of a racist he was.
Yeah, I don't think it's just black people, eh?
Yeah, that actually.
all don't
I
like
don't think
swimming.
most people like swimming in cold water.
Like,
That's
what
true.
the heck, man?
Yeah, no, that's a lie. But then also this goes on to speak about, which does come up in the film, how he created parks and that for people to go to and enjoy. But he would make sure that the toll would be higher for African Americans that they wouldn't actually be able to afford to go. So he didn't say African Americans can't come here. He didn't do that. But what he did was he intentionally orchestrated things that they wouldn't be able to go and enjoy like the luxuries, I suppose, that he built. And he would turn neighborhoods into slums because then he could get them to move out.
Get them out.
Yeah, for less money, it wouldn't cost him as much, and then he'd be able to, turn it into whatever he now wanted to turn. So that character was actually based on an actual person, and yeah, he was quite a mean dude.
There's a part in the film where Edward's character... Lionel, thank you, Lionel. I'm going to remember Lionel. I know someone who's Lionel. So Lionel he goes to the office of Moses and they sort of come to a nice, friendly sort of conversation, if I can put it that way. There's an agreement put on the table. It's like, look, sir, you accept or else, yeah. And for me, he's like, are there any further questions before he walks out? And for me, in my head, I was like, ask him about the documents. Ask why the documents been put in the dustbin. Ask him about that.
Right.
Because you say that you're getting people out, but okay. So
But you're lying.
Yes.
Yeah, no, he was not the. He
So
was
it's-
an antagonist, the very definition of it.
So he would literally just kick people out, and then they would disappear.
Mm.
Yeah, sure.
No, it's crazy.
That is mean.
Yeah. So Ryan, you were mentioning there were differences because obviously it was a novel first. So
Between the book and the film. So I've got 4 here. I think there are many others. But first of all, Frank was stabbed instead of shot in the movie. So
Oh, wow.
In the actual book. Can I just say that, based on this movie, if I read a book that was this compelling, I think I would also want to do a movie on it.
right. No,
Right.
it was very good.
So Frank was stabbed instead of shot. The second thing was that, and which Sashi mentioned, the book was set the book is actually set in the present day. So in the late 1900s, 1999,
Yeah.
the year of
Which
the
is very
Matrix.
modern, yeah.
The
Well,
year-
for now. Now
Yes.
it's like 21 years ago, but
yeah, but I think definitely it made it definitely more interesting
Yeah.
to go back then. The other thing is that the difference between then and now is that the Tourette syndrome, although today it is people widely accepted, they excuse someone who has this type of syndrome. In the 1950s, it would have actually not been. People
Yeah.
would have not loosely accepted it as you see in the film.
Yeah.
You'd be like,
I suppose that's why the book was in 1999 where they would have more accepted it.
yeah.
So he obviously just took that back, but according to like history and that, it
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have.
Well, I don't think. Look,
That was one of the things in the film. I was always like, wow,
Yeah,
people
people-
act so normal
people
around
were just
him.
like, okay.
Yeah. Like I
No,
would
it's
have
fine.
been like,
It's like,
what are you doing?
and he's like, sorry, I can't help it. My brain's like, no, it's fine.
Yeah, and then they just continue.
Continue, yeah,
Yeah.
type of thing. And then the other thing is that the 1999 book references music. The original book actually references music of Prince, because I'm sure there's
really?
there's a very jazz theme
Yeah.
within the film, but in the actual book, they reference more music of Prince instead of Miles Davis and the infamous jazz scene.
Sure.
So a few differences.
But the jazz music fit with the whole
yes.
theme.
Oh, yes,
like it was
definitely.
I enjoyed it from that perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And
Yeah.
jazz music was quite nice. I was like, hey, this is quite nice.
Yeah.
Jazzy. Ooh. And I think in terms of the whole private eye theme as well,
Yeah.
jazz is definitely a
Yeah.
good theme for that.
Yeah, no. So it's a different film. I don't think it's everyone's cup of tea, but I think it's worth the watch.
Well, I'll try it on my wife, see what she
Yeah.
says.
I'm going to try it on my family. My dad will enjoy it. I think he'll enjoy it.
You can ask him questions afterwards.
Yeah, he'll probably be able to go, yeah, no, that, there we go. That, be like, that's the political
That's
rundown.
what they're doing these days, you see.
And then I'd be interested to see how my mom and sister react, because they often, they if they like it, I know everyone will like it.
I don't know if your mom and your sister are the same, but for my wife, if she finds a character that they like, that's enjoyable,
okay, then they
get hooked. Yeah. So
I think my sister, I don't know. My sister doesn't like bad storylines. If it ends badly, she's like, stupid movie.
but it ends well.
Yeah, this one ends well.
Yeah,
So it
it ends
ends well. So you've got that. Yes. I think the only thing is keeping up with understanding what's going on. Like, you just have to watch. You have to, if you stop paying attention, I think eventually you'll be like,
Because
what's happening? Okay.
I think, the thing that I hate in a film, and I think that's why, I don't know if you're the same, Sashi, if I'm watching a film and I have people around and everyone's like so busy, I start feeling agitated.
Yes,
Because I'm like, I'm missing
so the same.
I don't like missing information.
Exact. This film, you can't. You need subtitles. If you watch it with people that talk a lot, watch it with subtitles.
Yes.
That is my advice to you. Yes.
Yes. I've done that once with a film. And lately I've gotten before we had the TV with its speakers, I got a hi-fi in.
Oh, yeah.
So when my sons are making noise, I like
Just
turn up
put it
the
louder,
volume.
drain them out.
Yeah, so this film is definitely for. I think I found myself maybe 2 or 3 times just going back and then listening again, going back, listening. I'm like, okay, I'm still not clear, but I sort of understand what they're saying. Yeah.
At the end of the film, I just had to go search who one of the characters were. So you hear about a man named Lieberman, and I had to go and just check who's that. And then when I saw, I was like, oh, and then made sense. But that was for me. So maybe just have like the cast open, because then that's the thing, is they say a lot of names, and you sometimes you don't catch on to the names. So now you're like, wait, who are they speaking about? I don't know who they're speaking about now. Yeah.
Oh yes, I know what you mean. I think that's where I also got lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they and Paul didn't like what are you like?
Who's Paul?
Yeah.
I don't know who Paul is.
Exactly.
There's no Paul in this film.
I think that is actually where I got lost, because a lot of
I think it's that.
The whole story, they connect you with the story, so they give you more information using names that you're not sure of.
So maybe
quite
just
loosely.
have the list, like the cast.
That's quite interesting, because I think if you're a script writer, here's maybe a tip. I don't know. I'm not a script writer, so I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But perhaps maybe in a lot of films they say, that's why my brother didn't wada wada wada. Instead of saying his name, that's why your sister never made you tea on that day. Instead of saying that's why Lucy never made you tea, you're like, wait, who's Lucy? Which day you talking about? On your birthday type of thing. I must say, I enjoyed Edward Norton. Bruce Willis, I actually watched a behind the scenes of him, and he's quite a big, staunchy guy.
Yeah, he is.
He's even got that voice, like that voice. So when I saw him, I was like, cool. Alec Baldwin, I enjoyed. William, how do you pronounce his name? Dafoe.
I think so, yeah.
Him, obviously. What is the first thing that you think? Well, what is the first movie you think of when you hear his voice or see his name?
There's a couple.
Yes? What's the first one? Where did you first see him?
Spider-Man, wasn't it Spider-Man?
Yes,
That was for
the
also
Green Goblin.
Yes, Alita Battle Angel.
Oh,
He
that's
was
right.
And Edward Norton. Do you know how many films Edward
Yes.
Norton's been in? He was in Fight Club with Brad Pitt.
That's right.
He's in The French Dispatch and The Grand Budapest Hotel. He works with
Yes.
Wes Anderson a lot. He was in Alita Battle Angel. He was even in Isle of Dogs, which was also Wes Anderson.
Yes.
There's a lot of films. He's actually in a lot of films.
I think he is also a director's favorite.
He's a very good actor though. And he plays very diverse roles as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was very cool. I enjoyed him.
Yeah, and there was another guy, Ethan Suplee, which I recognized. That was his partner that he was working with, the sort of biggish guy.
Oh, yes.
And then obviously there's Fisher Stevens, which I know him from a movie back in the day called Hackers. He was also one of the bad guys also. Yeah.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, are you ready?
You can stream Reactive's very own The Movement album on Spotify and Apple iTunes. Reactive is a movement.
So it's a cool film, just obviously the swearing, but otherwise go check it out. And while you're checking it out, you can also go check us out on social media. We are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Just search for Active FM. Plus, we are on Reddit, we are on Parler, we are on Gab. And then you can also go check out our awesome website, www.activefm.co.za.
Yes, and if you're a YouTube fan, go check us out on YouTube. Yes, we are on YouTube. Go look for the channel Active FM. No, Active TV. You can go look for Active FM and you can go look for Active TV. We're on 2 channels. And then just go look for under the playlist for the movie show. We are right there as well. We've got a bit of a shorter version of this show where we just give off good facts and we show what we are talking about. Which for me, if you're a visual like me, that is way better.
Yes.
Yes.
And then we are also on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
For everyone who's got a phone.
Everyone's got a phone.
Which is everyone.
Right.
Most people, anyway.
Right? Yeah, so this has been the movie show on Active FM.
With me, Ryan.
And me, Sash.
Until next time.
Peace out.
Cheers.
Active FM. Radio has never been better.